Do I need to do anything? Hello, everyone. Can you guys hear me okay? Raise your hand if you cannot hear me. Okay, awesome. Loud microphone level. Yeah, right. Okay. Oops. So thank you guys all for being here. My name is Matt Dasho, and I am a general internist in School of Medicine. Dr. Premal Patel up here. We're going to be giving you an introduction to the Global Health Interprofessional Core course, and I'm assuming most of you are here because you're interested in the field of global health. You're interested in learning about global health, either for practice here in the United States or global health to be practiced out in vulnerable communities around the world. So thank you guys for being here, and thank you for being interested in this. This is an area that is increasingly important for a variety of reasons, and we just love this content and we love teaching you about it. And so we hope you enjoy the introduction. We want to tell you a little bit about who we are, and we're going to get to hear from some of our other course faculty later on. I sometimes forget to tell people why I teach this course. Usually I just show up and we just start talking about global health, and people say, well, what the hell do you know? Why are you teaching this stuff? And so I want to just give you a little background. I'm a general internist. I practice primary care. I see patients. That's part of my job. I also direct our education program in global health. And I was brought here to do that about 6 years ago. It's crazy to say that this is our 6th year. We've just finished 6 years here. And so prior to that, we were both living and working in sub-Saharan Africa in Botswana. Me as part of a training program funded by a large HIV grant from the U.S. government, and Dr. Patel funded through the Baylor International Pediatric AIDS Alliance. And I've been here about 6 years, and most of what I've done has been focused on building academic partnerships, so building relationships between our university here and then other places in the world. I spend about 6 to 8 weeks a year out of the country. I travel, I go to the field, I meet with partners, I write grants with them, I teach courses there, I make clinical rounds, I meet with people, and I said that twice because most of what I do is meeting with people. And unfortunately, for better or for worse, most of what we do in global health involves a lot of talking. I also am very interested in integrating students into meaningful projects. I study how we can do better short-term experiences in global health. So there's so many ways to do this stuff, and there's a lot of shared experience that we can all get from how different people do global health. And so one of the areas I study is short-term experiences like mission trips and so on. And I'm also interested in interprofessional education and practice. Pete, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hello, everybody. I'm going to use the mic since my voice doesn't carry as well. So I'm also a general internist here at UTMB with a special focus in HIV and specifically HIV primary care. The Associate Director for the Center for Global Health Education and also the Co-Director of the SCOPE program, which if you guys haven't heard about, we will inundate you with as well. My interests are creating longitudinal clinical practice experiences such as SCOPE and being able to scale those up to different practices to different types of students as well, interprofessional education and also interprofessional clinical practice, and really figuring out how to develop global health curricula in a way that kind of makes sense to you guys, but that is also in keeping with evolving standards of what global health education should be like. And my background is also in human rights, and I have a very strong social justice lens, both locally and internationally as well.
Okay, so that's who we are. Any questions about who we are? Okay, I'm glad. There will be a test on who we are coming up later in the course. I like starting the course this way. This is a very interactive course, and so you will be expected to say words that come into your brain heads and make them come out of your mouth box and say things that are on your mind, okay? So this is a picture, and I just want to get your thoughts on what you see here. What kind of health status or health issues do you see in this population? What are some of the things that, when you look at a picture like this, what do you think is influencing people's health? Who said that? Pollution. Why do you say pollution? Okay. I mean, we think this is probably a relatively industrialized setting, right? So we think air pollution. Good. What else? What else? Yeah. Allergies. Okay. Tell me about that. Good. So allergies could be making people feel ill. I like that. Something else over here.
I was going to say noise pollution.
Okay, noise pollution. Yeah, absolutely. What is all this industrialization? What is it? What are we seeing more and more of in these settings? Diabetes. We're seeing cardiovascular disease, increased stress. Right? How many of you guys have just started school and are a little bit stressed? Yeah, more than a little bit. I feel like if we took the average blood pressure here, we'd be handing out a lot of diuretics. Right? Okay, what else? What other things do you see here that may influence health? Either poor health or good health. Yeah, people are outside, right? So there might be people are maybe physically active. What else? Oh, good. So you're saying that the environment that we live in influences our health. I like that. That's very true. Sometimes we like to ignore that, but I think events in the last couple of weeks have really shown us how beholden we are to the environment in which we live, right? Sorry, I saw another hand. Yeah. Yeah, this is an outdoor space, and there's ways we describe that, places where communities can meet, build community, build those relationships. It builds something called social capital that strengthens a resolve of a community. Good. What else? Anything else? I think those are good things. I think you've identified a lot of stuff. You've identified chronic disease is probably what is going to affect people here. You've identified allergies, environmental things, road traffic and pollution as health considerations. What about this? Contaminated water. Good. What happens when there's contaminated water? Okay. What else? Parasites. Good. So parasites that come from the water, contaminated water. Is this their drinking water? Good question. Yep. Pollution. What kind of pollution? Okay. You mean there's kind of like there's just stuff everywhere? Good. What else? What other things do you see that might influence people's health? Okay. Yeah, you could say that. Yeah, but there's not. It's certainly different. This is a meeting place. Who knows what's going on here? Good. What else? Poverty. So this looks like a more impoverished place than this place, right? Good. What else? Closer living spaces. Good. Mm-hmm. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Okay, so we might think health access could be an issue here. Good. And I heard someone say malnutrition. What makes you think malnutrition? Okay, good. What else?
Exposed wires, rusty metal.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. So good points, guys, and I commend you for thinking outside the box, right? You've thought a lot about different things. Who do you think is healthier? These people or these people? Hmm? These people? These people? It's tough to tell, right? So the point of showing you these things is that there's actually a lot of stuff that because we have a bias, we see things how we want to see them, right? So here, you identified a lot of things that keep people healthy, outdoor spaces, okay? But these are still people that are going to suffer from chronic non-communicable diseases. These are still people that are at risk for road traffic accidents. And these are still people who are at risk for emerging threats, okay? And we can't tell everything from this picture, right? Was there human trafficking in this setting? Things can look like this, right? But they're, in fact, you scratch the surface and you find that, in fact, there's much more disease. We don't know the income status of any of these people, right? And here, what we don't see are these blue bins. Okay, these blue bins are actually are part of an effort to try to centralize collection of certain types of trash. Obviously, not all types of trash. We see a community that lives in close quarters, yes, but may actually have some of that social capital. This is probably a community, some of the most impoverished community in the world, in fact, have some better health outcomes than even we do in this country. For a variety of reasons, access to services and to prevention and to education. We also, we may not see the clinics here, and they may not have access to them, but generally in a lot of settings, they do better at preventive care and at public health interventions than we do in our settings. And as distracted as we get from this trash, things are actually kind of orderly. I mean, these are people who are cleaning their clothes. They are mobilizing for business. This is a guy who's on his way somewhere with a briefcase. So what I'm saying is that global health is very much defined by how we have grown up, how we have seen things. And part of what our job is for you during this course is to try to identify those things within yourselves and prepare you to go into settings and try to understand them from a more objective standpoint, right? We want to give you the skills that you need to go into these places and actually drill down to those health determinants and get at them in a way that sort of understands your bias. We don't want you to leave your bias at the door. It's what makes you you. We just want you to understand it, recognize it, and then be able to look past it and to start to see some of the things that sometimes don't come out. Because you guys are all here. I think you're all here. I haven't taken a poll, but I think every one of you wants to be an agent of change in some way. You were called or driven to this field to study this stuff because of experiences that you've had. Something has motivated you, has galvanized you to want to learn the stuff that's going to help you be active in a community and try to make the world a better place, right? And I think I'm right there, right? That's why I think everybody's here. It's not just to go on safari, right? Because I can send you on safari, but you don't have to do the course for that, right? So, so being aware of your biases, being aware of yourself and where you stand, it's something you are as a generation, and I'm going to generalize here, much better at than generations that have come before you. Okay, you are much better at looking inwards and reflecting, and so we're going to take advantage of that during this course, because it's really from there that I think you can be the change agents that you guys all want to be. So what we're going to do through this course, basically this is going to go through the academic year. We're going to start, we're starting this month, and we're going to carry on through April. This is going to give you the rudiments in global health. How many of you guys have done a global health course in undergrad? Good. How many of you guys have taken a mission trip before or gone abroad? Good. The numbers get more and more every year, greater and greater every year, because you can do those things, right? And in some way, you are changed because of that knowledge and those experiences. We want to give you an opportunity to metabolize those experiences and give you words and give you ideas and give you concepts that teach you how global health people think. Global health people think differently than a general OT or a PT or a clinician. We all think differently, but global health people use certain terms and certain ideas, and they come from a certain frame of reference that's really, really, really important for you all to understand. And it's one of the things we love about teaching this course, and why it does so well as an interprofessional course. It does well as an interprofessional course because this is not germane to medicine or to OT or the lab sciences. This is stuff that if you want to be active in the community, in vulnerable communities, either here or abroad, there's stuff that you just got to learn. And nobody comes in with that just from general, from all the general background you've had. Some of you are going to have had more experience than others, and we're going to take advantage of that during this course. And one of the big things we're going to do, or try to do, is to try to challenge your underlying assumptions about most everything. Because the truth is that nobody's figured out perfect answers in global health. Nobody's figured out the right way to do global health. And so you may think that, I think I've got some solutions. And what we're going to do is teach you how to constructively and actively poke holes in everything, which seems like it's going to be an exercise in futility, but that's okay. These are things that you have to learn how to do. So we want to challenge you to challenge your own assumptions, challenge your colleagues' assumptions, and through that, you're going to come out stronger and better, and you'll be super people. Pete?
So before I go through some of the nuts and bolts of the course, I wanted to go back to this slide here. It's easy to look at this picture to the right and see everything that's wrong with it, right? It just jumps out at you, all the trash on the ground, the clothes that are being hung, the poor infrastructure, the dilapidated buildings. That just jumps out at us and kind of hits us over the head. But that's also a part of our Western bias, is we look at things and we say, well, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong. I'm going to fix all these things. I'm going to fix sanitation. I'm going to bring in toilets. I'm going to get infrastructure to be able to take the trash out. But that doesn't work in global health. It's easy to come up with all the things that could be potentially wrong. It's harder to come up with a solution. And the solution is in the community. It's already there. It's in the resilience of communities. It's in what they have already. So I would urge you guys, when you're looking at these types of scenarios, not just to see everything that you think might be wrong, but to look really carefully at the things that are right, the things that are going well, because the solutions are really centered around figuring out what's going well and leveraging that. So now the boring part. The course is interprofessional. So all around you guys, you're going to see students from all schools: School of Medicine, School of Nursing, School of Health Professions. We had graduate students here and there as well. And last year was the first year where we had more School of Health Professions students than School of Medicine students. So I think that's a nice kind of friendly competition. This is going to be one of the few large group activities you're going to have. So today is our intro, and then we have kind of a big finale at the end where everyone comes together. But the groups that you're going to be going to every month are going to be smaller, or as small as we can make it. They're going to be about 20, 30 students. They're always on Wednesdays at Mary Moody Northern 1.102 from 5 to 7 p.m. And as when we have you all sign in, we'll be able to allocate you to particular groups. What we really want is for the groups to be mixed. So regardless of which one you sign up for today, we might look and see, well, you know, I think there are too many School of Medicine people in this group, or too many School of Health Profession folks in this group, and we might kind of shuffle you guys around a little bit. But the entire course is really, it's really meant to be able to provide you with some of the tools and the concepts that you're going to need when you're doing global health. And every single one of these concepts is also applicable locally as well. So global health doesn't kind of start when you take a plane overseas. Global health is everything that we do every day. So we'll have these interactive learning activities, and you'll meet with your group once a month. You'll have assigned groups, and you want to stick to that group. These sessions are kind of a mix of cases with really real life scenarios that we've pulled from different aspects of our lives, different aspects of the literature and history, and kind of compile them together with fake country names. And we'll have faculty facilitators, and also we'll have student facilitators who went through this last year who have volunteered to come back to help out as well. And this is a way, this is a forum for you to be able to not talk about the mechanics of physical therapy or the basic science of medicine, but to really leave those really hard sciences behind you, and to engage in discussions that many times have no right answer. So we want your thoughts, we want your opinions, we want you, we want your life experience. We want, you know, many of you have already been abroad, many of you already have pretty extensive global health portfolios, many of you are from other places and have grown up in other parts of the world. And we want you to bring those experiences to bear on our conversations. Attendance is required, and every year we get a host of students who have an exam the week of GHICC. This is 2 hours of your time for the month. So there are no exceptions unless you have required class activities, because there are some labs, especially with the PA school, that will sometimes be in the afternoons. I think maybe OT as well. Good with Wednesdays, okay. So unless there is another required school activity, we do expect you guys to show up. So just do it. Part of the structure is every month we'll have a different theme. So when we start next week, the theme for the month is going to be international development. So here we'll really kind of talk about how international development came to be, what the colonial legacy of that has been, how it's shifted to looking what it looks like today. And we'll kind of take you through the entire history, but kind of bring you up to modern day and some of the tensions that are present in kind of the modern day discourse on development. Then we'll have a month dedicated to international aid and humanitarian assistance, being able to tease out aid and foreign aid, what it's used for, what it's not used for, ways in which we can make it better. We'll also go through some of the principles of human rights and social justice, and put you guys in some hairy ethical situations. We also have a month dedicated to public health, looking at metrics. I was amazed that when we moved to Botswana, people knew way more about public health metrics and U.S. foreign policy than I did. So it really required me to brush up on that in order to have a common language. We'll also go through different health systems around the world and kind of see if there's anything that we like from those systems, anything that we can steal from them, and also look at social determinants of health and how those are handled in different types of systems. And then we'll end in April on looking at medical volunteerism and cultural humility. For those of you that are traveling or have traveled, want to travel, this is incredibly important. Being useful in a global health setting is not just about the skills that you bring, because at this point, I'm sorry to tell you, no one has any skills, but it's about your attitude, it's about your approach, it's about your perspective. So that's something that I think we can talk a little bit more about, and how to develop that humility when you're abroad. So each school and each program is going to have their own set of requirements, which I urge you to reach out to your main faculty to make sure that you're in compliance with. One thing that we have added this year is an interprofessional community service video project that I'll go into. For School of Medicine folks, it's required that you attend all sessions with no more than 2 absences. And our last session, which is on medical volunteerism and cultural humility, is mandatory for you guys to attend. We also require 20 hours of community service, and for you to also participate in the interprofessional community service video. And all of these requirements will be in the syllabus on Blackboard. You can refer to them anytime. For the community service assignment and contest, this is something new we're doing that we thought would actually be fun. So I don't see any smiling faces, but I'll just pretend, I'll put on my smile filter and pretend that you're smiling right now. We're gonna divide you guys up into different interprofessional teams. And with the community service projects that you're either doing for GHICC, for your other courses, for any reason, really have you put together a video. And there's a lot of creative license here. It definitely needs to be probably G-rated for our purposes, and no longer than 10 minutes, but you have a lot of freedom here to have this be whatever you feel inclined to do. But you'll meet with your group a couple of times to be able to decide. You're gonna submit all of those to us, and we're gonna select a couple that we feel were really well done to present them at our last session. So the videos should really address not only what the community service was, but how something you learned in GHICC, a concept, a principle, event in history, how that applied to your local community or patient population, how you integrated that knowledge in global local work that you want to do in the future, and how it impacted you professionally and personally. So we want you to reflect on your experience also as working as part of an interprofessional team during this as well. So all of our content is going to be on Blackboard. The syllabus is going to be there. We have monthly, very short assignments that I think last year most of the students did 2 seconds before coming into class. But what we want you each to do is to find an article, whether it's in current news or it's on social media or it's in the literature, that is related to your particular profession engaging in global health work in the context of that session's topic. So for example, we had some PA students that uploaded a global health PA group that was doing disaster relief, because global health, even though it's been around in various iterations for a long time, what it means for you and your profession is going to be in large part determined by you. We have some clear paths in some professions more than others, so I really want you to have your eyes open and really looking out for those kinds of models and opportunities. We will post all the PowerPoints of all the sessions after the session. We'll have some additional suggested reading if you really have a lot of time on your hands and want to be able to learn more. And we'll post updates and announcements through there as well. For the School of Medicine folks that are doing your community service, you'll log in your community service hours on Blackboard as well. So any questions about that?
Does the community service have to be global health related?
No, it's a community service is local, and it could be pretty much whatever you want, whether it's doing volunteering at St. Vincent's or the food pantry or resource crisis center, just anything, but it's usually local.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, I saw another hand somewhere.
It was me, but that was my question.
Okay. Yeah, and we have a large list of organizations that we can put on Blackboard as well. But I think, especially in the beginning of the school year, there are multiple opportunities to start getting engaged in volunteer work. Okay, thanks, guys.
Yeah, this whenever I say 20 hours of community service, I think of prison, or like, you got sentenced to 20 hours of community service. But let's just be honest here. I mean, how many of you guys are planning on doing volunteering through this year? Or doing some kind of service work. This is just capturing that. You guys are the people who do this stuff anyway. This is allowing us to capture it and to start to use those to start applying some of this knowledge to those experiences. So it sounds like a ton of work, but actually, this is a course that is really not only very interesting. The 2 hours, it's not like me and Patel standing up here droning on for 2 hours. It's quite interactive. The time goes fast. You will bond with your class. You will enjoy being together. We don't have a budget, so we can't feed you, but you can feel free to bring snacks. I'm a big snack fan. Nobody ever takes me up on. Nobody ever does it and says, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and make creme brulee for the whole group. They don't do that. I wish they did, but nobody does it. And then they send us reviews and say, hey, you guys need to serve food. I say, no, this is global health. We're all in this together. You guys should serve me food. I'm serving you knowledge. So this is all to tell you that this is kind of moving on from the nuts and bolts, which really I think you're going to really enjoy being in the course and being together. You're going to learn some of this stuff is stuff you know. Some of the stuff is stuff you don't know. Some of you know it better than others, and so this is all about getting you together and learning from each other. This is to show you that we're not doing this because we're doing it in a void. We're not creating a global health course out of nothing. Global health as a field is pretty new. People have been doing this stuff for literally centuries. Missionaries started going through in the middle part of the last millennium. They were going all over the world and doing service work, which we would now call global health work. But it's really only in the last decade that the stuff has been codified and all of the educators and people are getting their fingers into it, so they're starting to make it look cohesive. And so we've really designed our course around what experts think you should know if you're going into the field of global health. If you have identified yourself as a person who wants to do community health or global health, this is the stuff you should know. So we put this in this PowerPoint so you can look at it and you can fact check us if you want. You can make sure you're keeping us real. But there have been publications now outlining the things you should probably know about if you're going to go out into another country or even into your own community and start interfacing with communities and trying to do things that improve health. So these are the big competencies that this working group have identified. And we don't, global health is inherently critical. So the first thing we want to do is start poking holes in what they've decided. We kind of like what they've decided because it kind of goes along with what we've seen out in the field. It goes in line with what our colleagues who work out in the field, like Dr. GHICC, Dr. Fingerhut, and others, we all agree that these are the things probably we'd like our students to know too. Um, you're not going to touch on all of these domains, but global burden of disease, what's out there, how is it affecting people in different countries, the globalization of health and health care, social and environmental determinants of health, like we mentioned, super important, capacity strengthening. Maybe someday your assistance will not be necessary. We should all be working. We always say we should be working ourselves out of a job, right? We should be working in long partnerships so that people can do the things that they need to do to keep their communities healthy. Partnering, collaboration, communication, you're going to be doing that throughout the course. Ethics, huge and an exploding topic in the global health literature. You can't actually keep up with the number of papers coming out on ethics in global health. And we're trying to be on top of that. We don't want to send people out in the field and they do something unethical. They didn't know it, but it was unethical. And they say, where did you come from? Where did you train? You say, UTMB Galveston. And then they call me up and they say, Dashiell, what are you doing to these students? You're not teaching them the ethics. And I say, well, maybe I'm not ethical, right? Professional practice, health equity, social justice, program management, right? You're not going to get too much into program management, but you're going to understand a little bit about how different programs interface with each other in community and global health. Sociocultural political awareness and strategic analysis, all are competencies under global health. And as Dr. Patel said, these are germane to really all of community health. It's one of the reasons why, in our School of Medicine, we have our global health track students take this course. And we've just set up a new track called the Community Engagement Track, which will also take this course, because these are cross-cutting competencies. So the GHICC is not. It's not going to give you practical clinical skills. I have students every year that say, I want to learn how to intubate someone in the field using nothing but duct tape, a couple of like tongue depressors, and an air pipe from the car. No, we're not going to be teaching you the rustic wilderness type solutions. Suck the venom out of the thing. We don't do that. That's not this course. It is in some. It's gonna enlighten you as to what other professions do in global health, but I'm not going to give you a lecture on here's what physical therapists do in global health. You're going to be coming up with that, and you're going to be teaching each other about that. It's not a good time to catch up on work or other social media. If I were sitting in this room with you, I would probably be updating my Facebook right now, and I'd be saying, in the class, SMH, Dasho droning on long, LOL, ROFTL. I would be doing that. I'm showing you how hip I am. So these are such interactive sessions. You really can't. You really are not going to have a chance to be doing other stuff. You can't turn your brain off. You can't skip when there's an exam. We've really just everybody suffers when we lose a member of the team, right? Think of this as when you get into those classes. Think of that as your team, and it's tough. You're going to have to balance lots of competing priorities throughout all of your training. And so this is 2 hours a month. You know when an exam is going to be. You know what you're going to have to do to prepare. Please work around this. Treat these as a break. I've had a lot of students that they have it on the week of an exam. They're stressed out. And I talk to them after the session. They say, you know what? This was really helpful because I got away from the Krebs cycle, and I got away from lipid bilayers, and I got away from the hip bones connected to the leg bones connected to the knee bone. I got away from all that. Yeah, I know I'm an internist. I'm not a surgeon. It's not a one-stop shop. I'm going to give you as much as I can, but this is really just to light your fires, to put the fire in the belly and make you go out and learn stuff as well and start to really inquire. World events, take everything with a grain of salt. Don't listen to the news. It's all wrong, right? Do those kind of things. I'm just going to give you some of the tools to start being critical. So this course is really about learning the common language of global health. What I've found in a lot of interprofessional type events or practices that I've done is that there are these really etched in painful hierarchies. Like in the hospital, it's the doctor does this and the nurse does this and the PT does this and the OT, and they just work in their little silos and nobody talks to each other because they don't really speak a common language. Global health, we can't spare that. Global health and community health, we can't spare that type of silo behavior. We want you guys to all learn the same language. And so we're going to give you those tools, give you those words, give you that grammar so that you can interact with each other irrespective of profession. And you will find that by the end of this course, you will be able to have an informed and coherent discussion with people who are working in global health policy or who are in the area of public health or who are working on human rights or advocacy, right? And because you now understand what they do and why they do it and what angle they're taking, and you understand their value, right? We're not really focused on tests. You will have some of the health profession students, nursing students, and others may have some assessments. They're mostly essay-based, if I'm correct. There's not going to be a test. We're not teaching to a test. Global health, unfortunately, is not testable, besides going out in the field and, trial and error. So we're just going to try to do our best to give you what you need to be able to be effective. We need you to have an open mind. This is the stuff we're going to go through in this course is intense. How many of you guys, when you start hearing the news, your blood starts to boil a little bit, right? How many of you guys go look for the news that sounds good to you because it makes you feel better, right? What I want to say is if you're on the left, go read some Breitbart. If you're on the right, go read some New York Times or BBC, right? This is a place where we all come from different backgrounds. We all come from different perspectives. And you've got to be open-minded. You cannot go and inflict yourself on vulnerable populations without an open mind. Okay, we just can't let that happen, right? If you're not willing to have your mind opened by communities, right? If you're not willing to have your mind opened by colleagues, some of whom may have had more experience than you, but maybe younger than you, right? Or colleagues that come from a different background than you, right? And they're bringing a perspective, and all of that has value. Everybody here has a perspective on the healthcare system. We're going to talk about healthcare systems. How many of you guys start getting a little bit of palpitations when I mention we're going to talk about the healthcare system, right? We're going to have people who are, all over Obamacare and socialized medicine and want a single payer system. We're going to have people who are in favor of private systems and fee-for-service and for-profit healthcare, and that's okay. Because if you don't know what other people are thinking about it and you don't have an open mind for it, how can I send you to Kenya? How can I expect that you're going to go to Kenya or to Peru and be able to understand their perspective and how they see things, right? So we have to start practicing those open-minded skills with each other in our classes, so that we can then be open-minded when we go out in the field. So everybody's going to see different things here, right? Everybody's going to see different perspectives. I won't tell you what I see here, right? I think it's a butterfly or it's a crab. But the point of this is that we see things, we may all look at the same problem or the same shape, and we may see different things, and that's got to be okay. That's really the magic of global health, and that's really one of the thing that draws a lot of people in, is that there are so many ways to see a problem, and that means there are so many ways to see potential solutions, right? So it's less about what this thing is and more about how you address identifying it. Okay? So there are really no right answers. That is the most frustrating things. I'm coming at it having been through medical school and having to prep for my boards. And I know every health profession, we all have our tests and we all have our board exams and we all have our licensure. And we just want people to stop telling us that there are no right answers. Just at some point, there's got to be a right answer, right? Unfortunately, especially when it comes to this world, which involves different cultures, different socioeconomic backgrounds, different political environments, different historical cultural contexts, right? You may be going into a setting that has been colonized, right? You may be there and you may say, why are they treating me differently? I'm come here to help, right? And you want the right answer to be, I'm here to help, so it's good, right? But maybe that's not the right answer, right? So there aren't, unfortunately, in global health especially, we're evolving so much, we're learning so much about things that work and things that don't work, that there aren't great right answers. So we want to focus on the big, hairy ideas, the big things that are going to give you those baseline tools to understand the problems to once you go out into the field and start working. So we like this quote. This is basically that nothing is really as it appears. Nelson Mandela, who was, as most everybody knows, was a champion of human rights, a fierce opponent of apartheid, first founding president of post-apartheid South Africa, said that poverty is not an accident. Like slavery and apartheid, it's man-made and can be removed by the actions of human beings, right? So be active, be engaged, okay? Scratch the surface a little bit, dig deep, and you will be able to be more effective when you go out into the field. The other big, hairy idea that we like to go into, and that really is one of the hardest for all of us to confront, and I say this personally, having suffered many, many unintended consequences. I go into a situation in the field where I think that I have an answer, and I may have even gone through all the right steps to get there. I've involved members of the community. I have the backing of key stakeholders, and I do something, and it has these unintended downstream consequences that I can't account for. And it wasn't because I was a bad guy. I wasn't looking to make a buck on my mission trip or organizing my rotation for students in Dominican Republic or whatever. I wasn't trying to do anything bad through this project or this intervention. But downstream stuff happened that was as a result of my intervention, right? So I like this example. I work in the Dominican Republic a lot. And one of my good friends and partners down there told me a story about this is a part of the Dominican. Who's been to the Dominican Republic? Who's been there on a mission? Yeah. So a lot of missions go to the Dominican Republic. Huge number of missions go to the Dominican Republic. And so she was telling me they have this HIV program, and it's funded by the government, and they're doing testing in the community. They're trying to get more people from these really rural, underserved Haitian migrant communities. Haiti and Dominican Republic share this border, and Haiti is very, very poor, and Dominican Republic is, by comparison, very well off. And so a lot of Haitian people come and to do work out in rural communities, and it's often slogging long days out in the fields, mining, taking care of sugarcane. And so there's all these mission groups that come in to provide mission care to those communities. You can't fault them. Those are communities that are deeply in need. So my partner works in a region that receives probably 80 to 100 mission groups a year, and they're all going out there. And every time a mission group comes, those of us who have been on mission trips, what usually happens? We go out there, and if we go to a rural community or a vulnerable community, there's all these kids, right? And what do you want to do for kids? You want to give them stuff, right? And you want to give the parents, you want to give them stuff. We say, you don't have stuff, I got stuff. Let me give you stuff, right? That's just a transfer. Easy for me, no skin off my back, a soccer ball, something, let me give. Well, so my partner down there says, we were having real problems because there are these mission groups coming in, and we go out to those same communities, and we want to enroll people in HIV prevention programs or to test them, and we can't get anybody to show up for testing. I say, well, why can't you get anybody to show up for testing? The community leaders are on board with it, but they can't get anybody to show up. And when they ask, they say, well, you didn't bring anything for us, right? You didn't come with stuff, so why are we going to show up? So great intentions. Nobody would fault anybody for doing that, right? But the unintended consequence is that there's a local group that wants to provide some kind of service that can't do it, right? And it can't do it because of an unintended consequence. Now, does that mean we should never bring soccer balls to poor communities? Absolutely not. Especially there are communities that say, we want soccer balls, give us soccer balls, bring them, right? But we have to deal with unintended consequences. That's just one example. The story of unintended consequences goes back to the colonial and pre-missionary years, where well-intentioned people went out to go do good stuff and just had to consider the downstream consequences. So this isn't to say, don't ever do anything, because perfect is the enemy of the good, right? At the end of the day, we don't want to batter you into complete inertia, right? You guys are here because you want to do something. All we want to do is give you a little bit of perspective so that when you're thinking about, when you're planning for that mission trip, when you're planning for that short-term experience, when you're planning to move for 3 years to go work in Tanzania, you're thinking about, okay, what am I doing? Am I taking into consideration all the potential downstream consequences? And the truth is, you probably will still have unintended consequences. It's just part of the job. All right, does that make sense? The other big, hairy idea that we like to bring things back to is that many of you are here because you want to do stuff outside of the United States. But I hope that for many of you, this will not be your first, the past couple of weeks will not be your first time, will not have been your first time to see people who are affected by disaster and to see the real effects of what that does as far as poverty and as far as livelihood. All right, that's not going to be your first time, and for many of you, it's not your first time to see human suffering to that degree that we have all experienced in the last couple of weeks. So what I want to convince you of through this course is that everything you're learning here, everything you're learning in these next 7-8 months can be applied locally as well. When I teach you about humanitarian assistance, I can't tell you how many students I talk to, and I ask them, I say, what do you want to do when you grow up? What drives you to global health? Probably in their first year, 60 to 70% of students I talk to say, I want to do Doctors Without Borders. That's because they see that. It's visible. The village is being ravaged by famine or by violence, and they go in and they fix it, right? But how many of you guys have seen heroics in the last couple of weeks by humanitarians here at home, right? These are concepts that we have to think about. So humanitarian assistance is in and of itself a Band-Aid. What I keep telling people about what we've seen in the last couple of weeks is that the hard work has just started, right? It's going to be the next decade that communities are going to have to rediscover their livelihoods, that impoverished people are going to have to find homes and jobs, and economically the region will have to recover, right? Those are the things that you're going to learn about that are applied globally, and you can apply them right up 45, not 20 minutes a year, okay? So a lot of the things that we're going to teach you can be applied locally. So it comes down to this, and much of what we're going to try to keep your spirits elevated through the course by bringing it back to what you want to do. How are you going to be an actor? How are you going to be a change agent? And the question you want to ask yourself is, what kind of world do you want to live in? For me, it's less about what kind of world I want to live in, what kind of world I want my kids to live in, right? What kind of world do I want you to live in, right? Not that you're my children, all right? I want to know what kind of world we want to live in. And that's something that I want you guys to bring to every session. When you're in those sessions and we're slogging you through the definition of GDP per capita, and we're teaching you about the global burden of disease and how you measure the the life expectancy and the infant mortality. And you're saying, God, Dasho, why do I have to learn this stuff? I'm learning it because I want to be able to change things to make it the kind of world I want to live in, and I want my kids to live in. So this is an interprofessional course. So it's not the Dasho and Patel show. We are blessed because we have some of the best minds in global health on the campus. And I want to actually take this opportunity to let a few of our faculty who have come to introduce themselves and to speak maybe just a couple minutes about their experiences in global health and their perspective and what kind of things they're going to do for their students. Nothing, just off the cuff, nothing formal, but maybe just introduce yourself and what got you into this.
I'm Carolyn GHICC. I'm chair of the Department of Physical Therapy in the School of Health Professions. I can say that I've probably been active in global health, but it wasn't called global health at that time, since 1995 here on UTMB's campus. And I would always see, when I would go to the Baptist Student Ministries, I'd always see that students, medical students and nursing students were always invited out to go on mission trips down in the valley or other places in order to provide healthcare services. And I kept saying, but what about us in the School of Health Professions? And they kept saying, well, what can you do? And I said, just take us along and let us work as part of your team. And you know what? After we went the first time, they didn't go without us after that. And they saw the benefits of a team approach to healthcare as opposed to providing medicine or providing nursing services, but putting hands and feet together to go out and serve other people. I can tell you that I have a very different perspective on global health now compared to even what I had in 1995. And I think in part it's because of this course that I've been a part of. Several of us in the School of Health Professions, along with folks in the School of Medicine, worked together in 2010 to make this interprofessional as opposed to just School of Medicine as well. And in that aspect, I've learned so much more about all those competencies that are there than what I ever thought I was doing. What I thought I was doing was giving to a community that needed my help. Well, instead, I'm learning how to help that community help themselves and to make it sustainable instead of me going in and then leaving and then they don't have anything left. So it's been a great experience. It's been an eye-opening experience, and it's been great in the aspect of being able to be interprofessional because we're a team not only in global health, but if you think about what this brings to our clinic settings and how we work with patient-centered care, it just adds to it all the way around. So I have a passion for this. I've had it for many years before I even started in global health, and I hope the excitement will spill over to you as well.
Hi, I'm Patricia Fingerhut, and I'm the chair of the Occupational Therapy Department. We have some here. I'm newer to this global health group, and as Dr. Yusi said, the lectures and the interactive student conversations, I have learned so much, even though I thought for many years in a variety of church organizations and things. I have gone to a number of places. Again, they have providing great services, but it's a very thought-provoking course, and it will give you a fabulous perspective on sustainability and really what are you trying to do, and what are you leaving these people with. Obviously, when you do travel, etc., you tend to get more from it even than the people that you have been working with. Dr. Yusi and I just got back from Guatemala a couple of weeks ago where we had OT and PT students. And I think one of Dr. Yusi's students from many, many years ago started a sustainable service in Guatemala and she's also started one in Kenya, where she started a clinic for children who were not receiving any services, children with disabilities, in a very remote part, Chichicastenango, of Guatemala. And she still goes there and still works with that group and still works with those families. But that clinic is now run by a Guatemalan trained physical therapist, and the services are provided by Guatemalans. And so that's the kind of sustainability that I think we want to talk about and how we can do it. So I'm excited about another year of global health that I'm sure you'll enjoy.
Good. Oh, hey! You got to come all the way down. You have to stand here and take your position in front of this class on the podium.
Hello, everyone. I am Janet Enderly. I am an assistant professor in the Clinical Laboratory Sciences Department of our School of Health Professions. I have been involved in local types of service throughout my life. That switched a little bit when I was a grad student here at UTMB, and I had the opportunity to go to Peru for a couple of weeks, and that was life-changing, as I'm sure that's been for everyone else who's gone somewhere outside of the country and who will be going outside of the country. This course has also been quite eye-opening, as has already been spoken to by the other faculty. Dr. Dasho and Dr. Patel have a very unique way of engaging with all of you and with the faculty, the facilitators, that makes that 2 hours fly by, and it opens your eyes to what you already thought you knew about it, and just another tweak to take a different look. And we all can be open to that and learn from that. So I am so honored to be part of this team and to welcome all of you students. And I think the interprofessionalism that goes along with it is another bonus. And I look forward to working with all of you in the small group sessions this semester and next. Thanks.
Yeah, and I will say this just to kind of close that part up, is that, you know, if anything is humbling, it's really being humbled by your colleagues from other professions. I mean, I went to Kenya when I first moved here, and I just I didn't know anything about lab sciences, clinical lab sciences. I never knew that was an area that you studied. But then I reflected upon my experience in Botswana, and I remember making rounds, and we would order a blood test, send it down to the lab, usually have to take it there ourselves. Everybody was hyponatremic. Everybody had a low sodium. We actually couldn't interpret our results because the equipment didn't work. And there wasn't someone on the other end of that thinking about the patient in my ward who was responsible for coordinating that lab, making sure they are such an important part of the healthcare team. In fact, when you guys get into your clinical rotations, you're going to see how dependent we are on labs, right? We're dependent on them. And it's not just on the technical part. It's about having people back there who are keeping the patient at the center. So it was also humbling the first time, and also embarrassing that the first time I really understood the difference between a physical therapist and occupational therapist was in my residency. Can you believe that? And I went to medical school here, where there's a PT school and an OT school. And I knew physical therapy students and OT students, and I never had the wherewithal or the compassion to ask them, hey, what do you do? How do you think about this? And I never learned it till residency. And I remember coming here, and I remember meeting then the director of the OT Global Health section, who was Gretchen Stone. And she showed me pictures from Guatemala. She showed me how occupational therapy students had entered the homes of the patients that they were treating. And they had identified certain things that were set up in the house that were contributing to chronic back pain, which was the leading complaint among people who were visiting their clinic. So instead of saying, like I would say, well, take some ibuprofen, here's some stretches, go home. They went into the home and they looked at the bed and they looked at the way they were washing and they looked at the way that they were setting up the sink and the cooking, and they made some very easy changes that required this many pills, right? Which for me, I always say I practice internal medicine. And so if you take away the medicine, we're just internal, which doesn't make any sense at all. So if I can't give medicine, what use am I? Well, I'm useless. That's why I need an occupational therapy professional to go in and to tell me to do their rigorous analysis of lifestyles, behaviors, and habits and occupations that will help that patient to do better and to recover. Same goes for physical therapy. People think differently about a problem, and you will learn so much more as you engage with each other as colleagues. I want to wrap up just by putting a few plugs. All right. We have a website. I will say that it is if I had to put like a scale of 1 to 10 of quality, I would say that it's a 4.6 to 5.2. That being said, it is very useful. It has all the information you need about our field sites, about where we work, about some of the new global health efforts that are going on. So I would implore you to go check out that website. We will have a Global Health at UTMB PowerPoint that's posted on Blackboard. We have a lot of stuff that's going. We have probably, if you think about health science center campuses and the UT system, you won't find a place where there's more going on in global health. We have this big box of a BSL-4 lab facility where they're doing high containment research with Ebola and smallpox, well, not smallpox, but all of these really, really highly infectious agents. So make sure you wash your hands if you're going inside there and coming out. But you have world experts, people who have been around the world investigating some of these emerging threats. These people were studying Zika before anybody could spell Zika. All right, these guys were writing some of the initial papers on Zika, and they're right here in Galveston. We bring some of the most renowned lecturers to campus, people who are movers and shakers in the field. We'll post those. We have a Facebook page, Global Health at UTMB. Please join it. And if you want to manage it, talk to me, because social media is a full-time job as far as I'm concerned. And we have some website, our updated website coming soon. We have a new sort of a superstructure of global health that is cross-cutting across community health and international work. And so that's really exciting. So there's a lot of stuff going on. Please, everything we do in global health is interprofessional. When I invite a speaker to come and talk about short-term missions or talk about global health policy, or someone to come from Geneva to talk from the WHO, I don't need to just see medical students and graduate students out there. I need to see everybody there. This is all really cool, and you should take advantage of it. On the 14th of October, mark your calendars. We are having our 6th annual Global Health Education Symposium. This is an opportunity for our students to have their work recognized. This is really the only global health conference that is really exclusively for presentation of student work. So this is all about the students. And it mostly features the work that our medical students and our graduate students, and in some cases our health profession students, do as part of their international field work. So they'll present posters, there will be oral presentations. We have the chair of population health from the new medical school at Dell, whose name is Bill Tierney. Bill is a mover and shaker in global health. He's a real guy. He's not, he's got more gray hairs than me, so he's done a whole lot more. He's built programs. He was involved in the formation of at this point, one of the best models of community-driven HIV care in Kenya. Really all throughout Africa as a model of a partnership between Indiana University and Moi School of Medicine in Eldoret, Kenya. So he's going to come and he's going to talk about health policy implementation, global health leadership. I'm probably looking at a number of global health leaders, but what does that mean in global health? So we're going to sort of tear through some of that in this symposium. The other really awesome thing that's happening during that week is that there's going to be another conference for 2 days. That's October 11th and 12th in Levin Hall. It's a Health of Migrants conference. Now, this is hot stuff, right? How much is our migrant health issues in the news these days, right? We've just had a repeal of DACA, which has health implications. We have a very politicized debate around migration, but that affects the health of especially adolescents and children coming from resource-poor settings in very important ways. And so this is going to be an opportunity to unpack some of those issues with experts, with people who have worked with migrants in Syria, with people who have worked with migrants in sub-Saharan Africa. Not immigrants. It's different terminology. Migrants are people who are moving, right? They can be internally displaced migrants, or they can be externally. So sometimes, like we are going to see one of the biggest crises of migration in Houston, right? Because we have people that are displaced. So we're going to be seeing people going all over the place. We saw it during Hurricane Katrina as well. Internal migration is not something just for Africa or for Middle East. It's right here at home as well. So we're going to have a really great, we have people coming from Geneva. There are people coming from PAHO in DC. There are people coming from Border Health Commission. It is going to be hot stuff. So you can go to this website and you can register. I think it's $25 for students. It's really worth it if you are around and you can take the time. So what I want you to do, first of all, are there any questions? Yes. If you have signed up at some point, or if you've given us your email, then you will be added to that group.
Okay, so it's not on my Blackboard yet because
So send me an email, and I'll forward it to Brad, or send Brad an email.
Actually, if you signed in over there, you will be added to Blackboard.
If you've signed in over there, you'll be added to Blackboard. Yes?
For school of medicine students, how does our certification for tropical medicine work, and what do we need to know about it now?
We're going to have an info session next week about the global health track and about certification for ASTMH. So as far as this course goes, you're smooth sailing. There won't be more to do until really third, fourth year, but we'll unpack that a little bit next. I think it's Monday. We're having an info session. Yes.
please print us around from our original groups. Are we going to get the email?
Yes. Yes. So there's 4 groups, A, B, C, and D. We kept it simple. We really want it to be interprofessional, and so generally we don't have to do many change-aroos. We will ask your permission. Hey, is it okay if? Generally people don't have a problem. It's once a month, and so what's one Wednesday versus another Wednesday? There really is no kind of gamesmanship of like one A is the best and D is the worst. For better or for worse, we're all the same here, and so there isn't really a benefit to one group or another. But if we do have to move you, we'll talk to you first. What else? Yeah.
So is this course separate from the global health track? Can you do this without the track?
You can do this course without doing the global health track, yes. If you're in the global health track, it's a requirement. If you're not in the global health track, you're more than or the community engagement track, then you're welcome. You're welcome to be a part of it.
So has the community engagement track been rolled out?
It pretty much, yeah. We're going to do a session next week. We're going to send people in emails about that.
So should we wait to sign up for that?
Nope. Go ahead and sign up for groups because it'll still be doing this course. What else? Anything to add, Dr. GHICC, Fingerhut, Enderley? Anything to add? Cool. So sign up for your group. Please make sure you do that. And we're going to send a survey tomorrow. Please fill it out. Oh, I'm so sorry. So sorry. One more thing. It's super fun. It's a little game. we're going to play just now. All right, a really quick game. It takes about 4 minutes and 22 seconds. Okay? So I'm going to show you some photos. And I want you to tell me if this is developed or developing. Is this from a developed country or developing country? Who says this is from a developed country? Okay, who says it's from a developing country? So this is Caracas. This is outside of Venezuela. These are sort of informal settlements that have been piled up on the hillsides around the city. And so when we go to our next course, when we meet up next week, we're going to talk a little bit about whether we should use those words, developed or developing. What about this? Is this from a developed country or developing country? Who says developed country? Who says developing country? This is from Texas. This is the single most impoverished region of the entire country. And it is here, right here in the great state of Texas. Okay? So this is right here. You can go down here and you can provide service and you can be a part of this. But we should be asking ourselves, wow, this is developing in a developed country. What about this? Developed or developing? Who says developed? It's from a developed country? This is from a developing country. Fort Worth. This is an area that is just outside of Fort Worth. It's built around some areas where you could see kind of some fracking stuff. There's some areas that are around there that where this kind of establishments have cropped up. What about this? Who says this is a developed country? Who says developing? So this is Kibera. This is the largest in-city township in the entire continent of Africa. So it's Kibera Township. So Kenya is actually classified as a low-middle income country. So you have some very rich people in Kenya, and you also have some of the poorest. Last one. I think this is the last one. Who says this is from a developed country? Who says it's from a developing country? This is Galveston. This is right here in Galveston. All right, this is down in that area right in the harbor side, between Harborside and Broadway, moving west. Any questions before? You can come up and see me. Otherwise, go up and get signed up, and we'll see some of you next week.